Choose to speak up, choose to dream, choose to be you and do whatever it is you want. In the past 3 days, I've gone live. I've done a challenge, the Speak Up Challenge. And just to make things a little bit easier, I decided to talk about one's dream. Today, I was at a concert from Tom Jones, and I'll quite honestly say I'm not necessarily a fan of Tom Jones. However, I saw him on the on the Voice, and I was astonished by not only his vocals, but I just loved the bluesy, the funky, the rock and roll vibe. Actually, all those things that he had, and quite honestly, it made me wonder if my dad would have liked him. I knew my dad was into Elvis Presley, but I cannot remember him being into Tom Jones. And quite honestly, I didn't know he actually made that music. But like I said, it was pretty cool. And yeah, I was pretty happy that I went there. So afterwards, people asked me how what did you think of it? Did you like it? Um, I was wearing my braces when I actually left. So they asked me, did you did you come alone? I said, yeah, sure, why not? And what they meant wasn't, did you go alone to a concert? What they meant was, did you go alone while you are wearing braces? And I said, well, I've I've gone through America 6 weeks with two crutches and two backpacks. So why wouldn't I go alone here to the Ziggo Dome? And I was a little bit surprised, but multiple people were surprised that I actually was there on my own. And it's about doing things you love to do. And equally as surprising, apparently, was the fact that I decided that well, during the time I was there early. I had parked the car at such time that I knew there would be other spots available. And I was like, well, if it's one price anyway, I might as well just go there early, see what's going to happen. And as a result, I oh my God, I lost what I wanted to say. Oh yeah, as a result, at 7 o'clock my time was Brandenburg chart with growth. Well, in this case, it was Mel Abraham, and I was like, well, I brought my iPad, let's go. And so I had um, these ones on. So those are my earphones. They're actually I don't know if you can see it, but are they are bone conductors, which is pretty cool. Anyway, people saw me taking notes, lots of notes, meanwhile listening, looking at the iPad. So a number of people actually approached me. Oh, were you really? Were you right now? Were you studying? Were you following something? I said, yeah, I was. So, which, and as a result, they were very surprised that I did. I was like, yeah, well, it's right now, so why not? I'm here. The only thing was, it was a little hard to hear because of all the noise. I think there were, I'm not sure if it's 50,000 people which fit in there. Might be a little bit on the high side, I don't know. But people were still surprised. And I was like, well, I'm here. I've got my mobile office, portable office. So why not if I'm waiting anyway? And for me, it was perfect way to bridge the gap between being there early and waiting until Tom Jones would go on stage, actually, until the first band would go on stage. So just before the live from Mel Abraham, I decided to get a bite to eat, and then afterwards I found my spot, and actually it were pretty good seats, so that was quite nice. So later on, I went outside and I spoke to some police officers over there, and I asked the lady. I said, "Where is the parking garage directly linked to the Ziggo Dome? Because there is apparently a parking garage beneath the Ziggo Dome, the parking Ziggo Dome, Ziggo parking." And she said to me, it's good that you prepare. And the only way to figure out where it was to speak up and ask. So a lot of people were either surprised or they were like, yeah, good on you. Good that you prepare. And that's what I would like to tell you too. It's so important to not not keep having those questions, keep those questions lingering on in your mind, but instead ask them, get your answer, see what's possible. So just before I went into the Ziggo Dome, I'd asked some people like, okay, can you tell me what do we need to do? Is there any support? Can I just, sit down? How long do I have to wait? All those things. And because I did, I also said, well, I need to take my backpack with me. I mean, there are my braces in there, and the other is my medication is there. So unless you want to risk calling 911, then maybe you should allow me to go inside because I know there is a La Place restaurant in there and I want to eat. So she said, well, do you have it somewhere? I said, well, I'm waiting for Mojo to actually send me an email, which they never did, by the way. Um, and she said, okay, can you show me? I said, oh, here's the text message. And then she said, well, I'm glad you've got the text message so I can see that you actually were in contact. And yeah, well, as far as I'm concerned, you're good to go. So I was able to take both backpacks with me. So I've got one because both braces they are quite big. So I've got a separate backpack for those. So I'm back to back two backpacks again. Um, but it fits quite nicely around the other one. So that's no problem. And well, so the moment that I was inside, of course, it was like, okay, what do you have? Yeah, there's, I don't know, there was chicken or something was in there. And I said, okay, but what about all else? Huh? She was a little bit surprised about that question. What about all else? But eventually she understood what I was saying. And I said, well, I've got my medication with me. That's why I brought my backpack. And well, we were all good. I also brought my tumbler, so I could get my drinks to go with me, which was a good thing because there was a bar close to where I was, but always alcoholic beverages. So literally it was drinks, and I was like, well, give me flat, please, water, flat. But I had my coffee, so happy me with my cappuccinos, and she actually filled it all up all the way to the top, so that was kind of cool. And she didn't charge all the way to the top. So as for speaking up, reasons to choose to speak up is to get clarity. Let's first and foremost start with clarity. What is it you want to know? Well, what information do you want to get when it comes to clarity? What is it you need to prepare for so you won't be surprised? Well, in my case, because I know that I always have something to take into consideration, I'm used to preparing. So I hardly ever go somewhere last minute. I need to prepare, be able to ask people questions, but I do know which questions to ask so that if needed, I can um, I can ask for certain special favors. Also, it's nice to know, okay, so what's expected from me in return. So I ask people, I get answers, and then I can do something. And maybe that one is even more important. So when you start up communication by speaking up, you can get answers, and by listening and not thinking, this is annoying, whoop, whoop, off you go. They might actually, there might be something good in those answers. But of course, it requires you to speak up and not be too impatient. So, like today, I was seated at, well, everyone was seated basically. So I've never actually, well, that's not true. I've encountered a Motley Crue concert in the UK where we were sitting too. But in the Netherlands, I never encountered a concert where all of us were sitting except for when it would be a classical concert. And, oh, we were, I think the musicians were the only one that weren't sitting down, except occasionally Tom Jones and of course the person behind the drumming kit. And this is the thing, every once in a while, and you've known, if you see me before, you know that occasionally I forget what it is I wanted to say. So, oh yeah, now I remember. Being seated, there was this person, and just before he were to go do the last songs, of course, he took the obligated break, actually went down the stairs, and that was the first time that it was actually possible to witness him. So I was completely on the side, and whereas other bands normally go to the side of the stage and say hi, he didn't. Um, I don't know if it's because of his age or because of other reasons, but he didn't. So when he did go to the side of the stage, on the side where I was sitting, actually, to go down the stairs, I was like, hey, nice, I'm going to record that, just take a picture. And precisely at that moment, some people wanted to pass by. Well, besides me doing that, I was also like, yeah, I cannot stand up because if I sit down for a long period of time, it takes me a while to get up. I'm all stiff and all that stuff. So my joints basically need to stretch again. The synovia, so the glue, uh, well, not the glue, it's more like um, what actually makes it glide, um, needs to be able to get flowing again. So it actually works. So it takes me a little while. So what I actually was doing was I was looking on my phone to get the light on, so people could actually see where I was sitting. I could turn to the side, and then they could pass me by. So this guy was apparently in a hurry, so didn't mind what I was doing. Not when it came to the recording, not when it came to the light on my phone. He only wanted to say, "Woo, woo, woo, you can't even get up." And I was like, yeah, that's true. I can't. Not, at that same instant. I turn so you can go past me. And that's the thing. So he didn't ask. Yes, he did speak up, but he didn't wait for the answer. And if he had taken a few more moments instead of rushing away, then first of all, I wouldn't have been busy, but moreover, I would have been able to indulge him in time with what he wanted. Not necessarily standing up, but making room so he could get there. So it was a little bit weird. But that's why I say it's communication, it's about listening, giving the other the time to actually respond. So hence we get clarity for ourselves, we get clarity and by speaking up, but also clarity because people can ask you, please do this, do that, and the other. So there's like some sort of protocol over there. And also, when it comes to um, doing what it is you want and speaking up, It's about achieving something that otherwise you might not be able to achieve. And by brainstorming with other people, it also provides clarity. It gives you a number of options. What can you do? Hey, Anna. I didn't see you, but I think you just popped on. So good to see you. I'm talking about the reasons for speaking up, and I used the story of me being at a concert just now, and people were actually surprised that I was on my own. And so when it came to speaking up, I told them like, well, I've traveled for 6 weeks in the US with two backpacks and two crutches, so no, that's not a problem for me. But it's important, regardless, to prepare. And when I was talking to one of the police officers to figure out, okay, where am I going to park in 2 weeks? And one of them actually said, I'm glad that you get prepared so you know what's going on. So actually, I was getting to speaking up to get clarity yourself, speaking up so you can communicate with other people and you can actually, well, it's like what's the protocol? So an understanding of one another, what it is you want to do. And then, of course, clarity, and you know what I'm talking about which roads can you take, which options are there, and where can you go, and where can it lead you to. But if you don't speak and talk to other people, then where will you get the clarity? So it's about researching and talking to other people can and asking other people can really help you to gain that clarity. And from roads on and opportunity. So for me, the roads when I talk about that concert was, for instance, where I'm going to park, what am I going to do, um, and also in my case, especially for the concert in about 2 weeks, I decided like, okay, I'm going to record a video and see if other people can help me. Again, speaking up. So it's not necessary that I have more options because it feels to me that I don't have options. Well, as the other police officer pointed out to me, I did have an option. The option was not to go VIP, not to do the meet and greet. Yeah, he had a point. I have to admit, he had a point. Of course, I was like, why not be able to go VIP and then choose whatever is going to come next? So I think those things are very important reasons. And then the most important one probably is figuring out why you want to do certain things and why you haven't done them. So during the 3 days pick up challenge, I told people, okay, take a dream in mind. What is it you want to do? And why do you want to do it? More importantly, why haven't you done it up till now? And by speaking about it, sharing it, even if it's on paper, you get to know not just what other people are thinking, but also what you are thinking and what's holding you back. So, one of the things I discovered when I was watching the concert, um, my feet were going all over the place, as in I was dancing while I was on my seat. Well, that's not entirely abnormal because for the last 8 years I haven't been able to dance standing up straight unless I was using my crutches, and of course that was a little bit much to do all the time. So I'm used to actually sitting down on the bar stool wherever and then just use my feet and go all out. And that's what I did today too. And I was actually surprised to see what was happening. I was like, what the are those my feet? That's actually what I was thinking. And it really literally brought me back to when my dad was still around. So, funny thing, one of the reasons, and that's something I told people too, and I don't know if that was necessary, but it felt like something I wanted to share. And once I did, people actually understood it very well. Um, I said, well, one of the reasons I want to go there is that he's 80 years old. And I, when my mom died, she was close to 89. And she was very musical too. But in the end, especially the last few months, but a little prior to it, maybe the last few years, she wasn't able to do it the way she did before. So she lost the ability to go full out. And watching Tom Jones, who's 80 years old, I was like, okay, so how long can you do it? And I was impressed. I was impressed with his voice. I already saw it, of course, on the Voice UK, and I wanted to witness that. I wanted to experience that. And for me, it was like making amends with what had happened to my mom. And I'm not sure if that makes sense for the people I've spoken to. It did make sense. It was like sort of like a different ending. Like, okay, so when you know you've got that age, um, try and make the most of it if you can. And also for the people around you, take advantage of it while the person is still there and capable of doing it. So it felt pretty good. I saw him. He had some trouble, getting up, walking down the stairs. So I made a little joke to the other people. I said, well, I know what he felt like. I mean, I feel like that every day. And I sat down for a long while. And they really looked at me. Oh, and you're only half his age. I said, well, thank you. I'm a little bit older than that. But so, yeah. So for me, that was very important too. So what I didn't expect was where I was going there to sort of make amends with what had happened with my mom when it came to music, was that I would be thinking about my dad. And I had noticed this already when watching The Voice and actually seeing his songs, hearing his songs, and seeing him on stage live. But he's really into the rock and roll, and I mean also singing songs of Elvis Presley and all the stuff. And my dad was a Elvis Presley fan, so I was like, I can't remember that he had any records of Tom Jones, and it would have been so cool to be there with him. So getting back to the dancing on the chair, my dad would dance with us. We were the little girls. He was 6'6", and there we were rock and rolling with him. I actually see him rock and rolling with my sister, and I remember rock and rolling with me as well. Not sure if he did it with my mom. Probably he did it with my mom too. Um, but he really liked it, and it was like, oh well, maybe back in the days my feet were used to doing it. I also did some ballroom dancing, and we did rock and roll there over there too. And but I was amazed by what my feet were doing. My feet were literally living their own life, and it was so cool. And at that moment, I was like, oh, I want to be part of this band too. I want to be there on stage, playing that kind of music, being behind a drum kit, playing the bongo, whatever. Um, no, especially the rhythmic instruments. That I mean, of course, there are other possibilities, but it was like, oh, that's so cool. And not because he's he, but because of the whole entourage, the whole vibe that was there. And I realized I really like, so I knew I liked funky and I like blues besides metal. But this genre actually, um, the whole funky and rock and roll stuff, I actually kind of dig it with what he's playing. So I had a huge smile on my face and I had a lot of fun. And of course, the question then becomes, yeah, that's nice, Lexi, that you're saying you like to be in his band or in a similar band. But what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? And of course, I do already have my drumming kit. I'm playing more. I'm playing regular every fortnight for at least an hour, sometimes shorter. That's due to circumstances. So I decided to actually um, get myself an exercise kit so I could exercise more. And I was like, yeah, as for the other stuff, I can always get those bongos again or play the keyboard or do whatever it is and just go for it. I mean, yeah, of course, I may think about, okay, what's the best time during the day? Is it when people are around? Is it before 10 when we have to be silent? Especially now knowing that behind me are people who take care of funerals. So I don't want to be the one who disturbs them when they are sleeping. But I mean, when it's still noisy anyway, why not just do it? And those are the things I think when it comes to contemplating, like, okay, what shall I do? What shall I not do? But those are valid choices. And when we were doing the 3 day Speak Up Challenge, I talked about those choices. So, what are you actually doing? And if you're not doing it, why are you not doing it? So, one of the things I've noticed myself is I'm very good at assembling all the material, but between assembling it all and then doing it all, that's a whole different ball game. So I actually did exercise once with the double bass drum that I got here, but I haven't done it multiple times. And sometimes I really need to give myself hit myself in the head, not so hard, like and say, okay, you go do it. So for a while, I had adopted an accountability partner. Actually, I was going to get a tattoo on my hand. Didn't happen. Not because I didn't want to, but I guess there was not enough time for it. And I'm like, yeah, I probably should get that back. Get some stars on my hand because then I know what that's all about. But the accountability partner helps me, whereas I, when I were to discuss this with myself, I can tell myself, go do it. And then I would come up with some sort of excuse that it's not going to happen. So basically, telling myself I'm going to do it should work, but it doesn't. So by using the virtual accountability partner, who is sort of like a super ego, that works a lot better. So I've got a picture of someone who can either smile or he can be like, you go do it. Okay, so now between those two pictures, I can choose. And when I notice that I'm not going to do it, I'll just put on the other one. And at some point, the question pops up like, if you don't do it, why do you have a virtual accountability partner? Why did you ask me as a virtual accountability partner to assist you? I mean, I might as well just leave if you're not going to listen to me anyway. And that's a good one. And because it's, of course, it's me. In the end, it's me. But because I give it a little bit of different status, as if it would be an external component. And let's face it, the superego is more the rational part of our brain, not so much the emotional part of our brain. It's easier to just listen to those directions, which I just basically given myself. So because I actually did a lot of things recently without needing the virtual accountability partner, especially when it came to going live, doing my edits, using thumbnails. I stopped looking at it. And now recently I was like, and this is because it's not really something new, but talking about those dreams and realizing I can do better lately, it's like, hey, let's go do something about it. Let's take it up, back up. I can do it again. After 8 years, I finally can walk again. So the last 8 weeks, my back was acting up. It's not completely gone, but it's good enough to be able to do stuff. And that's also one of the reasons why I want to be exercising the double bass drum pedal, because then I use two legs equally, which is good. And then, of course, yesterday a ball hit my index finger, and now I'm capable of doing a lot of things, and I'm also not capable of doing a couple of things. And I'm like, okay, so that's the next thing. But that's not, well, it might, well, actually, I might not. I was going to say it might interfere with the snare drums, but it's more on the side of the second digit, so the middle finger, and not on the side of the thumb. So I'm good to go, I guess. So no excuses there either. If I want to do it, I'm going to do it. And it's like what I said when we were doing the challenge. At some point, I challenged some people. Okay, record a video, and you know what I'm talking about. And then I was like, oh yeah, then I need to do it myself. But apart from that, that concert that I was talking about, which I'm going to attend in 2 weeks, the Kiss concert, it um, because I'm worried about not being able to stand front row and lean against something, so missing out on support. Yes, I've got two braces, but between two braces and being able to stand a couple of hours, like two or three, that's a whole different ball game, especially surrounded by people. So when I'm on my own, that's one thing, that's doable. I mean, when it comes to stability, all I need to take care of is myself. But when ground isn't flat, and especially when there are people around me who do things unexpectedly, well, that's usually when I need to adjust myself nonstop. So I am preparing myself, walking a little bit more, doing other stuff. Um, okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I got distracted for a second because of a comment that was said. I'll get back in it in a couple of seconds. And of course, I got distracted by it and I completely forgot again what I was saying. Oh, this is bad because I really don't know. I know I was talking about the whole things with the instruments, about the playing. Oh, yeah, and I remember again. It always helps me to go back just a little bit, rewind the tape, and then all of a sudden the same thing pops up in my mind. But as a result, I decided to actually record a video and address it to the guys from Kiss and say, okay, if you read this, if you see this, if you hear this, then maybe you can do something about it, because I would be very disappointed to actually see you do meet and greet for 1 second, and then straight after it would be like, okay, but I can't attend a concert because I can't stand and it's too crowded. Yeah, it's and I'm a bit worried about it. I do believe that it's time to let it go and to just trust the process. There's some time that when we've done all we can do, and then until a new option arises, it's about trusting the process. But well, that's what I meant. I recorded specifically that video because this was about speaking up. So there was a question as in why Facebook didn't publish the entire video, which was posted in the public Facebook group. And quite honestly, I have no clue why that is. I do know that depending on platform, especially on Instagram, it only takes like 15 seconds or 1 minute. Especially when you've done something on Instagram and it has been saved, and it's very easily forgotten to take the whole video instead of the short version because it's been shortened when publishing on a story or elsewhere. So I don't know why Facebook didn't do it, but if you send it to me directly, we probably can do something about it, or we can just try it again and see what comes up. There's, I guess it's okay to just upload it a second time. I don't know. What I figured out is normally when there's a short one on there, it's because I published something on Instagram first, and without me noticing it, it became a short version, especially when published on stories. So reel is like a minute, and stories is I think till 15 seconds. So that could be a reason. So going back to from today to the 3 days peak up challenge. Um, well, you just heard there's a Facebook group connected to it, and we really got into um, the whole thing behind the why speaking up. You know, the gaining clarity and what's keeping us from doing it. And speaking about that one, at some point we talked about the impossibilities, and of course the question is anything really impossible, or can we reorganize things so things which are seen as impossibilities are not always impossibilities. And so when I was talking to that second cup, he said, well, you know, you've been given options, you could just not go VIP. Okay, yeah, could have. Not sure if I would have made that comparison, but yeah. Um, Here was the thing. When the Lady Cup, so the first one, um, I was talking to, she said, well, I'm going to be there again in 2 weeks, so I might see you again. I said, well, if you're going to see me, I'll be in fox makeup. So I showed a picture to her and she loved it. But the guy, he was like, didn't actually say it like that, but you could see that he was like, you are crazy, you know, putting makeup on. And he was like, I'm not going to say appalled by it. Maybe he thought it was childish. I don't know. And I was like, well, you know, moment you are at that concert and you are in concert hall. Now I know all those people come to me, and of course to Gabby, she's not just, you know, her face, she's in full uniform if you want to call it that way. And so so yeah, it's actually kind of nice to do it because Kiss fans among one another, they understand one another. It's like a language we speak. And well, I guess that Cup was an outsider and he didn't understand it. And now I've said it at least to myself and probably to other people as well. Metalheads are a special kind of breed. We are sort of the odd ones out. Delane has a nice song. It's called "We Are the Others," and um, that's so true. We are different compared to other people, and if you don't understand what it's about, that can happen. But do you have to smirk? And you know, it was a little condescending. Well, not a little; it was a little more than that. But you know, I wasn't too surprised, so it didn't really get to me, especially because she seemed to like it. So, and she was going to be there, and that's why I showed it, of course. But when we could be scared or annoyed or more overheard by people reacting that way, we can stop doing things. We can stop sharing. We, in the worst case scenario, I wouldn't have put on the makeup anymore. But of course, I'm proud of it. I mean, and uh, so I actually said it belonged to the drummer. He's no longer around. So yeah, or one completely understood it, the other just didn't, and that's okay too. Just don't let it discourage you. That's why I brought up this example. Don't let it discourage you. So does that mean that I never get discouraged? Well, no. I wish it were true. Um, Not too long ago, um, a friend of mine started working downtown The Hague, and especially when the weather is nice, I like to go sit on the terrace, and I can go back um, straight here. But the downside to it is that usually I end up in a traffic jam because it's rush hour, and well, I can save that time and just go downtown, sit there for a while outside, have some latte, write a little thing, write something down, work on my book, maybe prepare a little something, do some editing, and then get back. And I'm no longer in rush hour, and it saves me a lot of time. So what I did was, when I was there, I was like, oh, that's nice. I can invite him to join me. So the first time around that happened, and he was already a little bit rushed. But the second time around was like, no, 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 I'm going to do other stuff. And I had to say, he's, he's totally right by saying I want to do other stuff. But I did notice that when it was that time again, um, besides not going, which also was because of other reasons. I think there was a package I expected here. Um, I noticed that I was not inclined to send him an invite anymore. And so when I did get a text message, it was, of course, because he wanted something from me. And I was like, okay. And that's, those are the things like, is it still equal? Is it balanced? Is it, I know the other one. So I know certain people, when they reach out, they want something from me because I've got a car. And that's okay. You can always ask me if you need something. Um, but it's like someone else said to me, a friend of mine, dear friend of mine, and actually was a little bit startled. She said, I don't speak up anymore because people, first of all, don't let me finish. Well, I have to say, she can take me, uh, she can take me into account when it comes to that too. I sometimes, especially when my hyper acts up, and especially when my mind is always going all over the place, as you may have noticed, then she, um, I will listen to it, and I will think about something. I will share something that I experienced, and then the normal thing would be that to get back to her again. And as far as I can tell, I normally do. When I don't, I also know it quite well. I know when I keep talking on and on and on and on. But I asked her specifically, why don't you tell me, hey, I was talking, would you mind? And then redirect it back to you. And apparently, and I'm pretty sure I'm not one of these, and maybe she's going to say something different, I don't know. But she said, people will say to me that I'm talking too much about myself. And I was like, that's sad. That's sad. When you call someone because you want to voice yourself, you want to share your story, you need some support, mental support, and then so it's normal that people link to it and are like, oh yeah, and tell them a little something themselves. But it's so important to get back to that person again. Oh, sorry, yeah, start to talk about myself, but let's get back to you. You were talking, so please tell me what. So a number of people will actually say, yeah, just leave it. I was starting, I was in the middle of something, and now it's it's over and done with. Um, and there are also those people out there who can pick it back up again. So, but she actually said that that was reaction of people, and I was like, that's not right, that's not okay, and that's what I told her. So, and I also said to her, the next time I do it, just say stop. So I know that you were calling because you wanted to share something, and now I'm going on and on and on about my story, whereas you called me because you needed something from me, and that's good. I mean, that's why we are friends, right? So that's yeah. When it comes to speaking up, it can be hard when the mind starts a course of its own, and when people don't see or realize or appreciate what you're doing. So, well, having said so, yeah, I'm wondering what else there is to say. We 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 went into the why very extensively when it came to speaking up. It's so important to know why you want to do something and then commit to it. Figure out which path to take and then commit to it. So think in possibilities instead of impossibilities. Think outside the box, basically. Speak about it, gain clarity, think some more outside the box if needed, and then contemplate with yourself why you're doing it or why you're not doing it. Write it down. Write it down every day. Put something in your calendar of your phone and just see what happens. Well, if you say that's been very helpful and I'm curious, the post on Instagram will be taken away pretty soon, which means they're only available in the Facebook group. I'm not sure how long I'll keep them in the Facebook group. I might actually be doing another round of challenges in like 3 weeks. So if you want to join the challenge, you can still do so and watch what we have already discussed, and you can go to the private Facebook group. But if you say, I would like to do it in, say, about 3 weeks, then just let me know. Register. There will be a description where you can go to, and then I'll see you there. Then I'll be going live again, talking about some things. And well, if you're very happy with it, I'll be doing a group coaching twice a week, and we are going to talk, of course, about speaking up, speaking out, and sharing your voice, because I'm about supporting those out there, especially the ones who are traumatized or where inclusion applies, hashtag inclusion, to find their voice and to share their story and get back in control of their life, living a legacy. And in order to do it, we need to take that first step, commit to ourselves, do it, and actually not let ourselves down. So that's it for now. I'm going to leave you guys and gals again, and I talk to you again soon. And if there's something going on, just find me, hit me up, leave a comment. And again, if you want to know what the challenge was about, then follow the link to kairocc.com Speak Up Challenge. So, see you again next week or somewhere on YouTube.